Hi, my name is Heather. I'd like to welcome you to the Knits and Things podcast. This is episode 29, I believe. And today, I'm going to call this episode Finally. I finally finished for the school year, and my summer has officially started now. Really, it started Tuesday. I finally finished Tuesday. Today is actually Thursday, June 26th, 2014, and I just finished my classroom. School got out not this past Friday, but the Friday before that, and I'm just now finishing up. Everybody else in the county was I'm usually the last one. I don't know, I hate packing up, and I did have lots of help this year. I had a classroom assistant who helped me a lot. And even with her help, it still took me a long time. You know what, though? Only because I'm moving classrooms. I think if I had not been moving classrooms, I'd have been fine. So, anyway, I'm finally on summer break. So, this is finally. If you're looking for me online, I am Heather219 in most important places on Ravelry and Instagram. There's also a group on Ravelry for the podcast, the Knits and Things podcast group, and you can come on by and chit chat and answer questions and ask questions and just kind of talk and see what's going on. There right now is really nothing going on, but there will be later because I'm going to ask everybody a question and their opinion on a certain project that I want to start. But right now something actually just finished up, so we'll get to that later on in the show. But for now, we're going to just go right into the show because I have lots to talk about and lots of personal stuff to talk about. So let me get the knitting done so that I can talk about the personal stuff. And oh, by the way, I am watching Cutest Nephew Ever, aka Caden, who is sleeping, and I have no idea how long he's going to sleep, so I'm trying to get this done. So I might talk even faster than normal. I'll try not to, so that you can actually understand me. So on to the knitting, and of course the first thing is thing one, knitting. Okay, so for thing one, which is the knitting, I have a finished object to show you. I should have worn something other than knitwear so I could model this appropriately, but I finished Hogwarts Express, which is the shawl for my cousin, which was also Camp Loopy project number 1 for 400 yards that remind you or that is connected somehow with a favorite book. And so Hogwarts Express, with all the cute little owly poos, is of course reminiscent of Harry Potter, which I love. I read the whole series. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I read the entire series. I used to wait outside the bookstores at midnight when the books came out. I actually worked when book 5 was coming out. Zachary was very little, probably 18, maybe he was 2 by then, but maybe 18 months, 2 years oldish, and we were going on vacation the very next day, the day that it came out. So, you know, midnight before, people would line up to get the books and have a big party. And I was working at that time overnights at Target because I didn't want to put him in daycare. So I would work nights. My husband worked his regular, my ex-husband now, worked his regular daytime job, and then we were able to not put Zachary in daycare. He had a very tired mommy the next day, and when he took a nap, I took a nap, but that's what we did. So I begged my manager. Usually the nighttime people don't run registers at all. Nobody really even has permission to run a register, and you can't open a register at 4 o'clock in the morning. But I begged and begged and begged my boss to call somebody in the middle of the night to come in and open a register and sell me the book before I left the next morning. And she did. So I went, I didn't wait in line. I didn't do anything. I worked the whole night. Actually, there was a Borders across the street. So on break time, I was like at the front of the store, like peeking at the Borders, watching all the people having fun. But I got to take a book with me on vacation, and I had several people. We went to Myrtle Beach that summer, and I had several people like, "Where'd you get that book? What are you reading? Are you reading Harry Potter? Can I look at your book while you're in the pool?" Hilarious. So anyway, I love Harry Potter. So definitely I wanted to knit something Harry Potter, and this I think worked out very well. I think the owlies are so cute, and I wanted to do this for a while. So when Camp Loopy said project 1 was 400 yards related to your favorite book, I immediately thought of Harry Potter or the Hogwarts Express, and then knowing that I really should not be spending money on yarn, I thought that I would knit it for my cousin because she's very deserving, and that way it would be a gift. So here is Hogwarts Express, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about what I did because the Camp Loopy project, oh, did I bring it up here? Yes. The Camp Loopy project was 400 yards. Well, this shawl is intended to be done, and I'm getting very warm, I'm going to take it off. So the shawl is intended to be knit with one skein of fingering weight yarn, so which sometimes won't even be 400 yards. And a lot of people said that they had a lot of yarn left over. So I was going through the project notes to make sure that I found people that had used up all of their yarn or made it slightly bigger or whatever. And one thing they did was knit the garter section until they had a little bit more than what the requirement was to start the owl section. So I knit way past where the pattern suggested I stop, because you use it on a measurement system, on a weight system, so you weigh your yarn, and when you've used up a certain percentage, then you start the owls so that you'll be sure to have enough left. But I was finding that people had a lot left over, so I knit way past where the pattern suggested to start the owls, because I saw a lot of people that said, oh, I knit to this weight, this percentage, and I still had plenty left. So I knit way past before I started the owls, and then I started my owls, and I didn't count to see how many owls I got. I might do that. You guys don't want to see me count, though. That's boring, right? And then once the owls were done, I did, how many? I can count this part. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of 4x4 ribbing. Actually, I did a little bit of garter stitch first. Then I did 4 rows of 4x4 ribbing, and then a little bit more garter stitch to use up all my yarn. And I don't know where the ball went. I don't think I have it up here. I think I saw it in the living room. Yeah, I saw it in the living room. I knit 4x4 garter and then garter stitch before binding off, so that I used up all but 11 yards of my yarn. So the yarn was Dragonfly Fibers Genie Sock in the Hidalgo colorway, which is a 420 yard skein. So by my calculations, I used 409 yards of yarn to make sure that it fit in with the Camp Loopy project. So there is my finished object. And I wanted to talk to you about how the eyes were made, because the eyes are buttons. Sorry, not buttons. The eyes are beads. And I used a different technique than I had used ever before for getting the beads on there. So what I'm used to using is a crochet hook, and I think I have put the crochet hook back. Yes. I'm used to using the teeny tiny crochet hook where you hook it over the yarn, or you hook it over the stitch, the exact stitch that you need, and then put the stitch back on the needle and proceed to knit as usual, as the pattern says. Well, I was finding that with the yarn, because the Hidalgo is a pretty good size fingering, it may even lean towards heavy fingering, it's a really nice round yarn. I was finding that with the yarn and the size bead I have, which I got these beads from Bead Wrangler years and years ago, and they're a size 6 seed bead. And I was finding that with the opening of the bead and the yarn that I had, that I was actually like stretching out the knitting to get the bead onto the stitch. So I switched to the dental floss method. And if you watch the Knit Girls, Laura gave a really good demonstration of how to use the flossers, and I'm gonna try and do the same, but it's probably not gonna work. So the flossers that you use are these super floss pieces where you have a stiffer end, and then you have like almost like a fabric section, and then you have the floss, and then you have another stiffer then you have the end that you put a knot into. So you can see I put a knot there. So what you do is you string the beads. I'm going to try and do this without spilling a bazillion beads. You string the beads onto the flosser. Eek. Like that. And the fabric-y section, the spongy type section, actually will hold on to your beads for you. If they're size 6 anyway, they will not roll down, fly down past there. without a little bit of coaxing, which is why you put a knot at the end, just in case they do get past, and they won't go past your knot. So once you do that, then, and I'm going to find a project that has fingering weight stitches, then you can take the next stitch on your needle, and I know you guys are backwards, but that's the way you're going to have to be, and you put the stiff end through the next stitch, okay, stiff end through the stitch, and you pull that stitch off. Now that you've got it, you can pull that stitch off, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to really drop because you've got it with the floss. And then you fold that part up so that it touches. You slide the bead back down so that it goes over both ends and onto the little loop. Okay? And then you slide it down so that it's on the stitch. Once it's like that, then you can slide it back onto the needle. And when you knit the next stitch, that stitch will have a bead. I'm not going to keep this bead on here because this is a blanket. I don't know that you want a blanket with beads. So when you knit the next stitch, you get a bead. And then it's locked into your knitting. So don't be afraid of knitting beads, knitting with beads, because it's fun and it's pretty. And I'll take that off of there later. So that's the way I did all the beads for the eyes. And this pattern, somebody mentioned, I think it was on Instagram when I mentioned about doing the pattern. Somebody said, oh, I want to knit that pattern, but I just know I'm not advanced enough. You do not need to be advanced to knit this pattern. This pattern is garter stitch. And then to make the owls, you do a row of cable. I'm not going to give too much away because it's a pay for pattern. You do a row of cable for one row. That's all you do is the cable. Every like 8 or 10 stitches. I forget exactly how the pattern goes. And then you do more garter and stockinette patterns to make the sections where the owls are going to be. And then when you do the beads, it's one time, one row, you're adding beads, and then you do more of the knit and purl pattern. And then you do another row of cable and more knit and purl and another row of cable and more knit and purl and you're done. So if you wanted to try adding beads for the first time, or if you wanted to try out cabling for the first time, this is a perfect project to do this. I really, really like this. Can you tell that I like it because I've been talking about it for 5 minutes, right? So, Hogwarts Express, wonderful. And that's it for finished objects. I'm actually going to go downstairs and get the cord for my laptop, which I have my notes on because my computer just told me it's dying and needs to be plugged in. So the rest of thing one will be in a minute. Okay, so yeah, Hogwarts Express, love it. I actually, when we get to Everyone Needs a Thneed, I actually may have gotten yarn to do one for myself when I was at the store the other day. So I really like the Hogwarts Express. So that is a finished object. And actually I have another finished object. I really want to take this bead off of here though, so it's just going to sit right there for the show. Okay, so Hogwarts Express got finished. I also finished a blanket square. So I'm doing, I've talked about my Yarn Snobby friends before, which is actually a group on Ravelry, but then a lot of the members are actually some of my local knit group friends. So they're having a pink along because so many of them love pink, which I don't really love pink. I have pink here, and I guess I don't mind pink, but I don't gravitate towards it the way some of my friends do. So they're having a pink along, and I'm like, I don't know if I can join that knit along because I don't have pink. But I went through my blanket squares, which I need to be knitting anyway, and I actually have a lot that is pink. So this is the one I originally thought of, and this is my second finished object. This is the unnamed colorway. This is yarn that I dyed myself. I went to a dyeing workshop with Carita Collins, who is the dyer behind Neighborhood Fiber Company, and she laughed at me when I made this yarn because it's like, okay, it's pink on pink, but I think it turned out nice. So Not that Karita's going to hire me to do any dyeing for her or anything, but, and she was the first person I had ever seen that set up a, I don't know if it's called a warping board. I think it's called a warping board, where you measure out different lengths of yarn and tie them off in just the right way to make the stripes. So she actually showed me the striping technique that is so hot right now, and this was probably 5-6 years ago. It's when she lived in DC, because she started in DC, moved to North Carolina, and now she's back, but she's in Baltimore. So this was way back then before she moved to North Carolina, and so it's an unnamed colorway, but it's her base and her dyes, because she was there kind of coaching us through selecting colors to make dyes. So this is kind of bullseye pink and rosy color. You can barely see it on there from what I see. Maybe if it's back here, you can see it a little more. Maybe. So this was what I thought of first when I said, well, I can knit some pink somewhere. So this was one square. But then I went through my skeins that I had set aside for this sock yarn blanket, which is what I'm doing. And I remembered that this yarn has pink in it. So I'm doing another one of these lovely squares. And I have one more that I did not pull out, but I have one more that has pink in it. So I'll do maybe one of each, and I'm going to have to calculate and figure out exactly how much yardage it takes to knit one of these squares, because there's like a 200 yard requirement for the knit along that they're doing. So I have no idea how much yardage this is. Maybe that'll be another thing for the next episode, which I'm hoping that I can record every week. And I just figured out actually that my son goes to camp next week, not in 2 weeks like I thought. So I can totally record next week and do the needle choice information section, and maybe I'll do one about figuring out how much yardage you've used by weight. Maybe that'll all be one session, one episode together. So look for that next week, figuring out how much yardage you have used. So that was another finished object. So, and I'm still working on more blanket squares. I will be working on those for the rest of the year, probably, if not longer. And I also picked back up my Lizzie, so keeping in with the thing one. Oh, and I'm right in the middle, doggone it. I'm in the middle of a row, but you can imagine, right? So here is Lizzie. Lizzie is the short sleeve cardigan. I don't know how many rows I'm going to be able to do to get where I want it to be. And I did not write down, I didn't write down the designer name. I'm so sorry. And I'm going to stop saying that I'm going to put it in show notes, because who knows if I actually will. But Lizzie is the little, Heather Gilliam? I think it's Heather Gilliam is the designer. Short, well, I think it's actually supposed to have a longer, like 3/4 bell sleeve to it, but mine's going to have short sleeves because it's done in cotton. So it's stockinette on top, and then it goes into a cable, and then the cable goes into a lace pattern. And the hem is supposed to be a long, like tunic length hem, but I think I'm going to stop it maybe just before my waist, because I want it to be just a small, short cover up for the summer anyway, which is why I'm going to make the sleeves short. And there's a version from another Raveler, where she does a short sleeve, and she just does the sleeve as it's written until just where the cables come in, because the sleeves mimic the body of the sweater where there's a cable and then a lace pattern. So this is Lizzie. I have actually just switched project bags because I put all the yarn in the bag to remind me, but I'm finishing up one skein. This is how much I have left of one skein. So I'll probably do finish the row that I'm on, and then move on, do the sleeves, and then go back and use the remainder of the yarn in the body of the sweater. But this is being done out of Knit Picks Shine Sport. And I think there's a color, I think it's like Sailor, the Sailor colorway. Does it say, yep, it says it right there. Sailor colorway, which this is a sport weight Pima cotton and modal blend. There's 110 yards per skein, so I really only have 400 more yards left. So that's why I think I should stop, do the sleeves the way I want them to be, and then I could just use the remainder of the yarn in the body of the sweater if I want it. So that is Lizzie. Lizzie is being knit on size 4 or size 5? Size 5. Good old Clover needles, which I don't mind at all. and it's coming along very nicely. I love knitting on it. The yarn feels really nice. I was very surprised because it's a Knit Picks, you know, synthetic blend, but it feels really nice, and it's holding up very well to my, you know, my knitting with it. It doesn't look really worn at all, which sometimes some of the less expensive yarns can show a little bit of wear just from the knitting. So I'm very pleased with it so far, and I hope it continues. Viaggiante. Do I want to talk about Viaggiante? Yes. This is really all I've been working on lately. Once I finished Hogwarts Express, I picked Lizzie back up, and I've been working on and off with my Viaggiante, which, did you finish your Viaggiante? Because the nail long is over. I forgot to mention it again the last time I recorded. I think I expected that I would record again before the deadline was so close, but I did not finish. Surprise, surprise, right? So I did not finish, but I did get a lot done. Look how much I did in between recordings. So there's where I was last time, and look at all that I did. Oh my goodness. So I did a lot, but I did not finish. But it's really getting really big. So here's the beginning, and then it's all, look at that. It's all of that. All of that, and it's really getting to be quite wide. Let me not drop any stitches off, but it's getting to be really quite wide. So one shoulder to the other shoulder, definitely getting to be nice and wide. And I can't stretch it all the way over there anymore without threatening to have it fall off the needle, so I'm not even going to try. But it's getting really, really wide. So that's very good. So, and let me stop saying so. This is how much yarn I have left from the first skein. And I'm thinking, because it's getting to be so big, I'm thinking, I've been toying around in my mind with, when I'm done with this skein, I'm just going to start the lace pattern for the end. But I say I'm toying around with that because I say that at one point, and then I start to talk myself out of it at the other point, because I'm thinking, you don't want something that's too short. You're going to be disappointed if it's too short, so you need to just keep going. Because again, Viaggiante is another percentage type system, and you knit until you have a certain percentage of your yarn used up, and knitting to that through that first skein is not going to be to the percentage. I think it's supposed to be, I've got a 40 in my mind somewhere, so I don't know if it's 40% of your yarn left or 40%, yes, it must be knit until you have 40% of the yarn left. So I would have to knit actually that whole ball and some, so we shall see. But that is my Viaggiante, and it is being knit out of Leading Men Fiber Arts Ghostlight in the Darkest Hour colorway, and I am knitting this one on some Hiya-Hiyas. I think these are 4s. Yes. Hiya-Hiya Sharp. Ooh, these are sharps? Really? Okay. Hiya-Hiya Sharps, which is a size 4 and a 3.5 millimeter for the rest of the world. 4 US, 3.5 millimeter for everybody else. So that is that project for me, and that is the end of my actual works in progress. So I'm going to continue talking about Viaggiante, and when I said, did you finish? At least the only people that posted, I know there's only 2 people that finished. So since we only had 2 people, I can't, what's a random number generator out of that, right? So I am going to give, and I put it in my notes, yes, so I didn't make the knit along, but 2 of the people in the group did. So Stephanie, who is Hot Pink Socks, and Dorian, who is Simply Me 5252, for finishing, I'd like to give both of you a pattern because you're the only 2 that finished, yo. So yes, please send me a private message on Ravelry and let me know what pattern you would like, up to an $8 value in Ravelry. It has to be a giftable pattern, and I will purchase that and have them send it to you for finishing. So congratulations, ladies. And if you have not looked yet, go look at the Viaggiante Finished Objects thread, which is still locked and stickied at the top, because they both turned out so beautiful. So Stephanie, who is Hot Pink Socks, she did the like plummy purple color that is gorgeous. And hers blocked out really, really long. So, which is another reason I was thinking, maybe I'll just stop after the 1 skein. Hers, when she blocked it, is like a dress. It's beautiful, and it's so nice and sheer, and you can tell it's just going to be a nice layer to have over top of your skin in the air conditioning. Oh, I think it's going to be so beautiful. So beautiful version. But then Dorian, who is Simply Me 5252, she did, her yarn is kind of a variegated or like a tonal, but in two different places it pooled in just the right way where it looks like marble. It's gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. So congratulations, ladies. Good job for finishing. Did much better than me. So, and I think that's going to be it for thing one. On to thing two. All right, so thing two. Thing two is spinning. And I'm looking at my notes and laughing at the optimism that I had when I typed up my notes on Tuesday. Because I guess Tuesday, when I had finished my classroom, I'm like, yes, I'm going to get everything done. It's going to be great. No. So, I had said that I put in my notes that, oh, I plied up the Jemima fleece. No, I did not. And Jemima is the name of the sheep that gave me the white wool that I'm spinning. And so I still have that bobbin finished. It's ready to be plied, but it has not been plied. I did, however, do a bobbin of Fat Cat Knits for spinning this week. So here is this first bobbin of singles. I'm going to do 3 separate bobbins and ply them up into a 3-ply. This is my next gradient from Fat Cat Knits, and so I'm going to try once again to get a lot of yardage out of my gradient and possibly do socks. I don't think it's thin enough to do socks out of a 3-ply. So gradient for whatever, maybe a shawl. If I don't wind up with yarn thin enough to do sock weight, I'm going to do a shawl. I have strange neighbors. Somebody is like working on a car or something and they're just revving the engine. I can hear it. It's quite annoying. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear it. It's quite annoying. So when I did the Fat Cat Knits purchase, I did the 6-ounce option, and I heard Amy Beth from Fat Squirrel Speaks talking about the 6-ounce option with Fat Cat Knits as well. So it's like a little bit more, so you're not as nervous for messing up 4 ounces, but it's not quite as much fiber to spin as 8 ounces. So I think it's a good balance in between. So, but the way she sends it is really brilliant. So she sends you 1 2-ounce bump, and that's what this is. And then she sends you 1 4-ounce braid, and that's what this is. But the 2-ounce bump looked like that. It went red to yellow and green and to blue, and then it stopped. That's what the 2 ounces was. But the 4-ounce bump does that up to the blue, then the blue section is a little bit longer, and then it goes back down to the green and yellow, and finally ends with the red again. Now, the one thing I am noticing is that the red section here is much smaller than the red section was in the 2-ounce bump, but that's the way a gradient is going to work anyway. And maybe when I apply this, I can take a little bit off of the red, which was the final color that got spun. Maybe if I take a little bit off of the red, it will line up. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I still have 2 bobbins worth of thinking to do about it. So this is what's on the wheel right now, and this is probably what will start off Tour de Fleece. I am going to participate in Tour de Fleece, but it's not a serious, I'm going to do this much. I plan on spinning every day and watching the tour every day. So every day that the tour is on, sit for a little while, watch the tour, spin a little bit, get it all out of my system, get some spinning done, and keep going, because I have a lot of knitting projects that I want to get done. I have a lot of things going on. And I'm not sure exactly the dates for the Tour de France and when it ends, but I do have some travel coming up in the middle of July. So I don't know if I will still be able to spin. Oh, but maybe I could take one of my Turkish spindles with me and do some spinning. So I don't know, I'm excited. I get to go to Denver for my part-time job that's starting, and I'll be there for a conference for the beginning part of my stay, and then at the end of my stay I'll be on my own. My sweetie was going to join me, but he's getting ready to buy a house, and so he doesn't want to do a bunch of travel. And anyway, so I'm going to be on my own, but I found a really cool place to stay that has breakfast included and is like right in the heart of downtown, so I'll be able to walk to some places. like sightseeing places that my sweetie probably wouldn't have wanted to go to with me anyway. So I'm excited. I just booked that this morning, and so I'm very excited. It's like a B&B type place where I'll have my own little suite and my own bathroom, so I know sharing. And I'm really excited. So hopefully I'll be around for all of Tour de Felice. And very loose goals, but I am going to be there. All right, and is that it for thing 2? That is it. And so let's go on to the things you can think for the upcoming knits. So this is going to be the things you can think combined with Everyone Needs a Thneed, and probably going right into Gerald McBoing Boing. So who's right on the other side of the wall? So I'm sure he's going to hear me talking about him, but too bad, because that's what mommies do. All right, so the things you can think. Camp Loopy project number 2 is coming up, and I ordered yarn the other day. I actually ordered yarn and needles and kitty snips and a Namaste bag, and the Namaste bag was broken when it got here. But the Loopy U and Namaste are being wonderful about it. So I sat on it for a couple days because I was thinking, okay, it's one zipper inside this humongous bag. Am I really going to use that pocket that much? Maybe I can just live with it being broken. And then I thought, no, I didn't pay that price to have a bag that started out broken. So I contacted the Loopy U and I told them what happened. You know, straight out of the box, the zipper broke on this bag, and I would like a replacement. The problem was, it was the last one in that color that they had. They had another one. I ordered I'm going to get the name wrong if I do it. I don't remember all the different names, but it's the bigger, more rectangular size bag that has the 3 sections. It has 2 outer pockets and then 1 zipper pocket inside. So you could have, your purse could be in one section and knitting could be in the other 2. Or I guess your purse could be the other 2 and your knitting could be in one. Whatever. Monroe, that was the bag, the Monroe bag. And I wanted it in the pumpkin spice. They did have one left in the, is it eggplant that's the purple? But I didn't want the purple. I wanted the pumpkin spice, which is a very light, creamy orange. It's a beautiful, beautiful color. So they contacted me back, said that they didn't have one, but they would contact Namaste and see what was up. And by the time they had contacted Namaste, Namaste was contacting me. Namaste sent me the UPS return, so all I had to do was put the return label on the box, take the box to the closest drop center, which I'm in a metropolitan area. There's a drop center right down the street. And we did that yesterday after I got the label all printed out and everything. And so I'm sending that bag back to them, to Namaste. Namaste was already sending stuff to the Loopy U, I guess, for the regular inventory. So when Loopy U gets the new bag, they will just forward the bag on to me. So problem solved. I hope it gets, well, I know it'll get here before I take my trip, because I was really looking forward to that being a carry-on with all those different pockets. Anyway, I was supposed to be telling you about Project 2. So Project 2 I'm going to do for my nephew, and in the, keeping with the gift theme. So I couldn't order yarn and do something for myself. This has to be gifts. We'll see if that still holds true for Project 3. Because I'm starting to break down. But it's going to be, the name is Gaspard Legrand by Christine Rouvier. I don't know, it was very French. And so the yarn came in from the Loopy U. And this pattern, Gaspard Legrand, is just a basic pullover with, it's got a sailor collar, although I could turn the sailor collar into a hood if I wanted to. But it's very cute, very basic stockinette, but then it's got like an inset section, or an overlay section of garter stitch that comes over here, and the garter section comes out towards the sides of the sweater on the front, which makes like a little kangaroo pocket. It's very cute. And the sizes, I think for this sweater, the sizes start with baby, like infant baby, and go up to 10 years old, I want to say. Don't quote me on that. It might just be younger children, but 10 is younger children anyway, right? So there's a number of sizes for the pattern that you buy. So I'm going to knit this. It says that it called for DK weight yarn. So I ordered the Cascade Ultra Pima, which was listed as a DK weight yarn, and the gauge says that it matches what should be on the pattern. But this does not look like DK weight to me. This looks more like fingering, maybe possibly sport, but it does not look like DK weight to me. So this behind me is, oh, there goes blue. Behind me is Neighborhood Fiber Company DK, and here is Cascade Ultra Pima DK. They are not the same. The Neighborhood Fiber looks much thicker, right? And I think this is what I've been used to using for DK weight yarn, but I don't know, maybe, anyway, the stitch count works for this. I have not swatched with this yet. That's going to be next. So the cast on date is July 1st, so I can swatch this week and still have time to cast on time. But the gauge on the tag works out to be what the gauge says for the pattern, so I'm going to go with it. And for Project 2, for Camp Loopy, they wanted you to knit something that reminds you of a place that you like to relax. So either the yarn color or the pattern name or something had to remind you of where you like to relax. So I chose this because this color on the Loopy U website was called Deep Sea Foam or something about sea foam. Oh no, Deep Surf. Deep Surf, right? Yes, Deep Surf. So definitely watercolored. That, and my family has this big thing we tease my mother about. She talks about this green and that blue green of the waves. Oh. So this is that color. So I thought I would make fun of my mother and knit something for my nephew at the same time. So that is what this will be. The yardage requirement is 600 yards. So I ordered 3 skeins, which one skein is 220 yards. And that's just about what I should need. That's why I'm thinking maybe I might have to turn the hood into the pocket. But I think for his size, like the minimum is 550, between 550 and 700. So I'm thinking he'll fall right in between there. I'm going to knit, I believe I'm going to knit the size 4T because he's a pretty big guy. And I think the 4T will do fine. So that's what's coming up right now. That's really all that's coming up right now because I have a lot still on the needles. I have a lot of unfinished objects. I have my Cracker Jack, which I haven't showed you yet. I have a shawl for my mother that I never finished. I have a lot still going on the needles. And I'm looking around because I have my projects here on the bed, and then beside my bed is where I have like a little stash of all my project bags, which Amy Beth of the Fat Squirrel, I'm going to pretend that she watched and heard me say that I wanted one of those big pillow bags. She totally put those pillow bags in her last update. I hope it comes today in the mail because I got one. Yay! So it's kind of like an orangey. It doesn't necessarily go with my living room. Well, it doesn't go with the walls, but it matches fine with the furniture. I have an off-white leather couch, and I have like an oversized chair that is tan and brown. So the bag is like white with orange fish on it. I think it's going to be very nice. So all of these things can actually go in there. And that is it for the things you can think. But now I'm going to talk about Everyone Needs a Thneed because I've gotten a bunch of stuff in. So the other day we were out of Eucaland to wash socks and knitwear in general. So I went to the local store to buy Eucaland. And my son somehow got himself talked into getting sock yarn because he asked for Argyle socks because he's going to go to school next year, which is what I want to talk about later. Where he's going to go to school next year, he doesn't have to wear a uniform. So he's excited that he'll be able to wear fun, funky socks because with his uniform, they even said what color socks he had to wear. So he asked for Argyle socks. And my mother immediately said she would knit them. So, more power to him. But while I was there, and my local store, the one closest to me is Fiberspace in Alexandria, Virginia. And their store is so tempting. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's set up beautifully. It kind of flows where it just like draws you in and you want to walk down the little corridor and look at all the... Oh, it's beautiful. Anyway, I was resisting most things until I got over to the lace section. And when I went into the lace section and I saw Neighborhood Fiber she's got like a silky lace weight, and it's I want to say like 1,300 yards for not a bad price and beautiful colors, of course, because it's neighborhood fiber. And I had a skein of that in my hands, knowing I didn't need it, and then I saw the sale bin. And this yarn, which is Canopy Fingering from the Fiber Company, was 40% off. How could I leave this in there when it was 40% off? And actually, I bought way too much because this is what I'm planning on doing my Hogwarts Express with. And I totally did not need to buy the yardage that I did. But I do want, when I make my own Hogwarts Express, I do want it to be a little bit bigger than the one I made for my cousin. So I will definitely be able to do this. But this yarn is 50% baby alpaca, 30% merino, 20% viscose bamboo. And it is light as a feather. I think it's going to be very, very nice as a Hogwarts Express. And so that's what I did. Which the price, it was $14.75 and then 40% off. So I bought like 1,000 yards. I could actually knit something else. I could knit a garment with this for 1,000 yards. But that was my one yarn purchase that I should not have been doing. But I did. And then I want to show you some other things that I've gotten in. When I made my order for the Loopy U, I love their receipts. I love that they draw pictures. And what they have. Campfire songs. Does this, I don't know, does this have something, I haven't had a chance to be on Ravelry looking around much. Does this have something to do with the next project? The way they're splitting people up or anything? Because it says Campfire Songs and Oh Susanna is checked. Is that going to be my group for project 2? I don't know. Anyway, but I ordered some of the little kitty snips. Can you see them? They're still in the bag. You see the cat face? You can't see the cat face. So I ordered some of the kitty snips. Oh, and I can't get that off there. I ordered some of the kitty snips, one pair for me, one pair for my cousin, because she's a crafter too. So we put those, I think she's getting an orange pair, and the red are being left here for us. I also ordered more Hiya needles because, all of this came in. I think I spent like $18 of my own, but the bag and the kitty snips and the needles, totally my winnings from Dancing with the Stars and Survivor. This was all on my gift certificate, so it's stuff that's coming in, but it's not really bad, right? Not really bad at all. So I ordered 2 more Hiya sets, very common sizes for me. US 6, I always need a size 6 because I'm always using a size 6 and I'm always casting on something new. And a size 5 because I have size 4s and 7s already. So now I have 4 through 7 in Hiya. And these are my favorite needles. I'll talk about these a little bit more next week. Favorite needles. Love them. And then for the rest of my thing. So when I won the Dancing with the Stars and the Survivor pools, you were asked to give a list of things that you might like to receive, and so I put down, and I never went back and saw exactly how much came in from that, but I put down the JDRF because we were doing the JDRF walk, the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. We were doing that about the same time that the pools ended. So I put down, one option was to give a donation for JDRF. One option was gift certificates to the Loopy U. And then I also said that stitch markers were cute. And so, I forget which Raveler this was. The note that's in here is not from her. The note is from the person who made the stitch markers, but these 2 sets of stitch markers came in as well, and I think they're so cute. So they are, I guess, the polymer clay, but here is a set of peaches, and I like this. These are the whole peaches, and then this one is a peach half, or a peach cut in half, and I love the little pit. Look how realistic that little pit looks, right? Cute, right? So there's peaches, which we love peaches. And then the person that had them sent to me said that she wanted just ones that kind of reminded her of summer. So look at these. These are ice cream. Look at the ice creams. Aren't they cute? Very, very cute, right? And so this one looks like strawberry cheesecake. This one looks like chocolate. This one actually looks like a snow cone, but this one, mint chocolate chip. Good Lord, I love mint chocolate chip. So that's my favorite one. And I haven't used them yet. I'm waiting until I have a new project. Maybe I'll use that on the nephew's sweater. But I really like these, and I think I'm looking at the clothes on there and wondering if it's going to snag. But those are very, very cute. Very cute. I really like those. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm trying to see if the name of the store, and it said, this was the note that was in there. So one is called Juicy Peaches, one is called Ice Cream, and it was made by Scary Mary. And it came from an Etsy store. I know it did. But I don't see. So maybe if you want to look up Scary Mary, you could find some stitch markers like that. But I wanted to show them because they're so very cute. If I find them, this time I promise, if I find them, I will link them in the group. I'm not going to say in the show notes because I never do show notes. But I will try and link them. And then, yes, what are you doing, Zachary? Put that away. That's why I don't show you where that is. What are you doing? Knucklehead. Put that away.
Can you touch me up when you're done?
Yes. Gerald McBoing Boing. So I'm looking at the time. Yes, we're going to go into Gerald McBoing Boing, who just knocked on my door and did something very stupid with his eyebrows. I love my child. I love my child. I love my child. Okay, so I don't know if I posted this on Instagram or not. I know I posted on Facebook, and sometimes I post from Instagram. Anyway, you know, a couple weeks ago, I think I said this. Did I say this? I don't know. If I'm repeating myself, I'm so sorry. But a couple weeks ago, we had this big emotional roller coaster. We interviewed for the performing arts program, and then we were called back and told that there was no room in the class. Well, we weren't called back. We were given a letter that said he's on the waiting list. There's no room in the class. This is what, you know, this is the way it is. You're on the waiting list. You'll be called if an opening shows up. So last week, it's only been a week, oh my goodness, last week on Tuesday, I got a call at home and an email from the man that runs admissions there, that runs the performing arts program there, and that said there may be a spot for Zachary, send us his grades as soon as possible. Well, here I'm thinking, we just gave them grades when we were there for the interview, not that long ago. We shouldn't need to do anything until the fourth quarter report card comes out. So, and I forwarded the email to my ex and said, hey, look at this, you know, here's a spot. Well, then he said, no, we should send them what we have right now. So let's send them the third quarter report card, and let's send them the fourth quarter progress report, because that's what we have. So then became the throwing of the papers and the looking for the report card, because I don't know where it is. I'm a horrible record keeper, and I have no idea where that is. So I looked here, he looked at his house. Nobody has seen the report card from the third quarter. Nobody. But we did have a paper copy of the fourth quarter progress report. So we sent him we resent the third quarter progress report, which was the only thing that we had when we went for the interview. And then we sent the fourth quarter progress report. Got a call back the next day. He's in. And we were like, oh my gosh, that is awesome. And that was last Thursday, and I actually had just dropped him off with his lacrosse buddies for lacrosse camp. It was the last day of lacrosse camp. And so he wasn't with me, so I sent him a text message that said, hey, you got into the performing arts school. That's why we were looking for your report card last night. And he was all excited. So he was doubly excited because he got into the performing arts school. He was headed to lacrosse camp, and he had his brand new phone because for graduation, I finally got him a cell phone because he hasn't had one up until now. So we're all excited because he got in, oh my gosh. And Monday we went up for the orientation and the registration, and so he's all set to go. We still didn't have a copy of the report card though, so when we do get it in the summer, we will send it on to them. And hopefully there's no C's on it. but when we went up for registration, I just took the progress report, which looks exactly like the report card. But I took the progress report, and I just, this is what we have. Here's our residency requirement. Here's this. Here's his birth certificate. Here's his grades. This is what we have. And they're like, okay, you're complete. You're done. Yay! So, he's in. But from the time we found out he got in until yesterday, we've been on the search for the oboe, because I also told him that if he got in, that I would buy him his own oboe. Little did I know at the time that oboes are expensive. Oh my gosh, some of them are the price of my car. Ridiculous. Oh my goodness. So I've been going back since we found out he got in until yesterday. I've been going back and forth, and I was bidding on eBay, and then I had a friend who's a band director who's telling me, no, that's crap. You really don't want to win that auction. And so I was going back and forth, and I think I had been involved in like 3 auctions, and like I was watching tons and tons and tons of oboes on eBay. But what my friend had been telling me was, this is the kind of oboe you want. You want it to have this, and you want it to have that, and you want it to have that. And you don't want to get one that's too old, because once you pay for the oboe, then you still have to pay for the overhaul, for them to redo the pads and redo the cork and redo the springs, and to make sure everything's in working order, and that can cost you a couple $100 right there. So instead of doing all that, what we did was, we are actually very lucky, because, and every time I've heard anybody with music, even from the time when Zachary was very little, he did a Suzuki violin program, and the rich parents that were at the private school with him there went and bought their children violins from this one music store that we know of in the area. And then when I was talking about possibly buying an oboe, everybody was saying, you have to check here first, you have to check here first. So there's a music store here in the DC area called Chuck Levin's Music World or something like that, and they do everything on earth with music. And they have a couple top name brand violins, but what they do is they offer wholesale prices to the general public. They're like a music dealer, so you can walk in and buy an oboe at a much better price than anywhere else. So their whole tagline is, if you didn't buy it from Chuck, you paid too much. So we bought an oboe yesterday. And what I planned on doing was just going and looking, but when he brought out this instrument, and we told him what we wanted, and he brought us and I told him we didn't want to pay a ton of money, and they actually asked Zachary, do you love playing the oboe? And when he hesitated and went, yeah, the guy said, in my mind, when he hesitated like that, I automatically took off all of the high-priced wood ones, because it's probably not going to be something that is his passion, and then that's what he does for the rest of his life. But this is a good basic model. It does have a couple fancy bells and whistles, but it's a good, decent, solid, well-made, good-sounding oboe. So we bought a Yamaha YOB. I don't know what that stands for. Yamaha oboe, youth oboe, something. But it's a beautiful instrument. It's wood outside. It's got a rosin bore, so the inside where all the moisture gets blown is rosin that will not crack. It's got a 5-year warranty on it. It's brand new, so it's the first time. He's the first user. There's nothing, nothing's going to need to be fixed on the outside, because it is brand new. And so they offered financing, and we went for it. They actually offered a 90 days same as cash, which is what really got me. So 90 days same as cash. So if I pay it off in those 90 days, then I get charged no interest. If I take longer, at the most, if I go payment by payment by payment, the way the bank would like me to, then I'll pay like $800 in interest, which is much less than like a credit card if I had put it on one of my own credit cards. And so the goal is to pay it off in 90 days and to do no extra spending this summer. And he's got his own instrument. We love the sound of it. It sounds beautiful. I can tell a difference between that oboe and the rosin rental one that he's had for the last couple years. So we're looking forward to returning the rental oboe tomorrow to the mass market music store that we've been renting it from, and having him practice and get used to the new instrument over the summer so that he's ready in the fall when he goes to the Performing Arts program. So, yay! And if we didn't know that he was definitely going to do this for the next 2 years at least, then I don't think I would have bought a brand new pricey instrument like this. But he is going to do this. This will be him for the next 2 years. This is his major. To be accepted into the performing arts program, you have to have a major. You have to have something that you're doing for the school, and his thing is oboe. So we know he's going to use it for the next 2 years. So we bought it. So, and I am going to post a picture later on Instagram. So probably by the time you see this, you will have seen a picture anyway, because it takes me a lot longer to edit than anything else. And I think that's it for Gerald McBoing Boing. We are getting ready to send him off to diabetes camp this weekend. Actually, the family camp that I've been going to the past 3 years is right now. I've been seeing notes from the parents that are there on Facebook and everything. And I must say that I do miss kind of, the chit-chat with the parents and the camaraderie with the parents, but I do not miss the whatever that was going to happen to me this year, because every year that I go, something happens. So I'm very much looking forward to not having anything itch or bite or sickness from camp. So, but I will take him up there on Sunday, so hopefully nothing finds me when I drop him off on Sunday. And that's about it. So looking at, in the school. The school is here in the same county where he's been going to school, so we are not moving in the foreseeable future, but we're still moving. It's enough is enough already. So I was very much looking forward to getting out there on our own. So I will still be looking for something, maybe something here in the county, and then moving again when it's time for him to go to high school, because I still am not thrilled about him going to the high school, even the high school that is the feeder program for performing arts, because there is no one high school that is just performing arts. Like this middle school that he's going to is just performing arts. Everybody that's there is there for the performing arts. And I actually got a copy of their report card, and like how they do with their standardized testing and everything, and they do really nice. They actually beat the school where, yes, they do. They actually beat the school where I teach, where Zachary is just now coming from, because they are actually a middle school, and they're elementary middle, where I teach is just an elementary school. They do have 6th grade there, but that's it for middle school. But their middle school scores are better than the middle school scores for the county overall, and actually very close to the tops for the state overall. So I'm very, very excited that he gets this opportunity. And it's all because of the oboe. So he deserves to get an oboe of his own, right? So I think that's all for today. I rambled enough. Yes, so I don't know if all that's going to make it in there. But that is it for now. I will see you around. Look for little bits of notes here and there in the group and on the blog. And until next time, I hope your knitting makes you happy.